Joining us live for the penultimate day of diving action here at this wonderful 29th Summer Universiade here in Taipei in the Southeast China Sea. And I can tell you that we have seen some wonderful performances from a range of divers from right across the board, right across the globe. And today we just have one final. It's the women's 3-meter springboard final. And we had semi-finals and prelims, and we're through to the final 12 divers who are in action. We've got Nedobiga of Ukraine, Moreira of Brazil. We've got the Swede Nero, who's diving in a second event in this Universiade. Mabushi, the Japanese diver. Ashley McCool, who's got the coolest name in this field of 11. Kim Nami, who's also won medals in this competition already. Chianik of Russia and Michelle Boer of the United States. Arantxa Chavez, double gold medalist here in Taipei. Second Korean with Suji Kim, Brooke Schultz of the USA, and Kezar of Ukraine. Ludi Wiggins, I'm going to pick your brains now and find out exactly what you think will happen here, because they weren't big scores, were they, in the semis?
They weren't big scores. They competed the prelims and the semi-finals yesterday. So it is a clean slate, though. But from the standard of the semi-final, I would probably say that it is anyone's diving competition. Of course, diving is such a crazy sport that you can't ever predict a winner, and they really need to be strong in their takeoff, strong in their entries, but a pretty open field for my liking.
Here we go, then. Here's Anastasia Nedobiga, 23-year-old, studying in Lugansk, 7th in the 3-meter synchronized. The Brazilian Luana Moreira, 21 years of age, Brazilian, 9th in the 1-meter, 7th in the 3-meter sync. Sweden's Daniela Nero, 28 years of age, the oldest diver in this final, 19th in the 1-meter. Yuka Mabuchi, the 23-year-old Japanese diver. And Canada's Ashley McCool, studying in Arizona State University. South Korea's Nami Kim, or Kim Nami if you like, and she got a silver in the 3-meter synchronized final with Suji Kim. Russia's Elena Chernik, bronze in the 3-meter synchronized final. Michelle Bauer, the 22-year-old, 7th in the 1-meter, looking to better that in this 3-meter final. And Arantxa Chavez, of course, a double gold medalist, 26-year-old, studying in Guadalajara. And Kim Suji, silver, of course, with Nami Kim, studying in Ulsan, and Brooke Schultz of the United States of America, the 18-year-old. Gold medalist in the 2014 Junior World Championships in the 1-meter category. Now we have, to complete the 12, Victoria Kezar, silver in the mixed 3-meter, 24 years of age. Judges, well, as per usual, we have just the 7, of course, because we're not synchronized, so we don't need the extra eyes and brains to pick out execution, synchronization more so. So we've got this is all about execution. It's all about, you know, getting the right dive to please these guys here, who are very important, looking very calm and collected, of course. Our Swedish judge that.
Just the referee, so there's a referee and an assistant referee. The announcer will announce the dive, the referee will blow the whistle, and then the diver will have a minute to complete their dive. So there's a little bit to it. If you don't know a diving competition, you must wait for your dive to be announced. There's also a scoreboard which shows the correct dive number, which is all based on forward entries, back entries, inward rotations, reverse and twists. So just introducing the judges there. Normally at an international competition, it's a neutral diving panel for a final. They don't do that at the World University Games.
So an open field, this is going to be interesting because, you know, when we've also got the Mexican Dolores Hernandez, who actually was, I mean, she was very dominant in the prelims. Was the favorite, but she pulled out. She didn't take part in the, she had a DNS in the semi-finals, hurt her left knee, and that's a bit of a shame. Otherwise, we probably, well, someone had to come in and replace him, which was obviously the Ukrainian, logically, who will start. Nidobiga, so it's a good opportunity for her. And of course, with these dives, 5 dives, they can start off with high scores. We don't have the 2 easy dives for this individual event.
There is no limited degree of difficulty. The divers can choose any order that they like. Normally, divers will choose a dive without a hurdle to go off first. They need to be very comfortable in the first dive they do. When the nerves are there, legs can be very jelly. We have the Ukrainian diver starting with inward 2.5 somersault in the pike position. So standing backwards and rotating towards the board with straight legs. Pretty low finishing dive to start with. She was very rushed on her takeoff and backed it away from the board, but really impressed with this pike position. It is really nice form, just unfortunate that she couldn't get the height to finish those rotations.
But look at that score, that's 51 points. Now that's, for this, we really are expecting higher scores. You know, there's no 2 easy dives. That would be a score that would be really good for, you know, one of the DDs of the 2. Unfortunately, not the case. I call it a jackknife entry when she actually unable to bring the legs around. Next up, Luana Moreira, 2.7. It's an inward 2.5, the tuck position. And the Brazilian competing in a second event in this Universiade, having competed in the 1 meter and finishing 9th.
Just another low, slow finishing inward 2.5. That was in the tuck position. She also did compete the 3 meter synchro event. Yeah. So it's been a very heavy program for a lot of these competitors, but just needed to really wait on the springboard a little more and just a little slow.
So a score of 48.6. Now Daniela Nero, she's 28 years of age, as I mentioned in the just at the start of this program, 19th in the 1 meter, competing in 2 events, studies in Stockholm.
Now, not a bad entry on the dive. If we get the slow motion replay, we'll see, or we might not see it, but she did a big double bounce on the end of the board and just moved marginally forward. I suspect the judges won't like that.
50.4.
So perhaps that 4.5 was reflective of that double bounce. It's actually quite dangerous when you do that on the end of the springboard. It's the capacity to slip.
And Yuki Mabuchi of Japan, it's a forward 2.5 pike, 2.4. And to get her show on the road.
Lovely entry. Relatively low degree of difficulty. We'll see a lot of the other competitors doing a front 3.5 in the pike position. So 1 less somersault, but a beautiful entry.
Yeah, very majestic. We've been admiring the panache of the Japanese divers here at this Universiade, looking very, very neat and very compact, you know, good on the board as well. This is Ashley McCool. She's going for an inward 2.5 at the tuck position, and 2.7. Saw her compatriot pick up a medal earlier on in the week. Celia Toth.
It's a much stronger start for an inward 2.5 with all the time in the world to just pike out of it. Suspect she'll be moving to an inward 2.5 in the pike position soon because that looked very, very easy for her.
And that's the best score yet, 58.05 for McCool of Canada. Nice slick start for her. Kim Nami, that's an inward 2.5. Tuck, 2.7. The next World Championships will be taking place in Guangzhou, where the last Universiade took place in 2015. It will be taking place in 2019, of course.
Not too bad, just backing it away. And we have seen some really fantastic diving from all the South Koreans, and perhaps their gearing up for that World Championships, but just needed to be a little bit more patient on the board, did back it away and was short of vertical.
Yeah, 48.6.
It's very easy to want to rush your first dive, get off the diving board as quickly as possible, but it doesn't do you any favours.
Elena Chernik of Russia, back 2.5 in the pike position, DD of 3. She's the only Russian in this final. There was a big team on the side of the dive pool.
And a very good start. Very strong looking dive. Did over-rotate on the entry. No technical problems in the air. Perhaps a little whippy, which has caused that over-rotation, but it is great to see the champions from yesterday cheering her on.
Elena Chernik, 55.5 points. Picked up bronze in the 3-meter synchronized final. And now it's Michelle Aboa. And this is an inward 2.5 tuck, 2.7.
Pretty nice entry. Her coach, Dario DeFazio, looks not sure how to give feedback for that one. So her feet came apart just slightly. Of course, was a diver from Venezuela coaching in the United States now.
52.65.
So a good effort without being outstanding.
He's probably one of the best diving exports coming out of Venezuela, isn't he? Diving coaches out. Now, Manchester Chavez, back 2.5 pike, DD of 3. Double gold medalist here in Taipei. How's she dealing with the fatigue of all of these competitions? We'll have to wait and see.
Strong diver, nice and vertical. She has a big list, so big degree of difficulty, so has the potential to really put a stamp on this competition. That was a good start.
58.5. None of her dives have got under the 3-point mark in terms of DD.
So probably only her and the Ukrainian Anastasia have a similar list.
Kim Suji with the inward 2.5 tuck, 207, the 5th diver to start their repertoire with this dive.
Very nice entry. It was big double bounce on the board, but it was neat. Fast rotation, vertical.
And had enough time to come out of the dive and get a good entry, 59.4. So again, we were seeing the scores increase marginally. Now, Brooke Schultz of the United States, forward 2.5 with in the pike position. So it's a DD of 3 this for the American.
She also has a very big list going into this final. Very nice diving, really confident, powerful dive. Now, Brooke competed in the synchro event and perhaps was a little bit disappointed with her finish. They finished out of the medals. That was a very confident looking dive, and
Judges obviously like that.
she does mean business.
66, her father coaches her, just 18 years of age at the University of Arkansas, and it's Victoria Kezar who will complete the first round. Inward 2.5, pike position, DD of 3.
Good inward 2.5. Just throwing and moving sideways across the water, so clearing her legs from the board.
But a great score, 63 points, and Kezar just showing strength there very committed, very confident dive, as you mentioned. So let's have a look at the rankings after the first round with Brooke Schultz in the lead, 66. Kezar, the Ukrainian, in second with 63 points, and Kim Soo-ji of South Korea with 59.4. Interesting that we haven't got any divers from North Korea as well, isn't it, Ludi?
It is interesting. They competed in the 3-metre synchro event, so just wonder whether their program was a little bit too heavy or they're just not ready for 3-metre.
Or if they're like the South Koreans, just not competing in every single event. Nidobiga. And that was a forward 3.5.
What a beautiful entry, front 3.5 in the pike position. Did land slightly back on the end of the board, but she has such a lovely pike position that when she does an entry like this, she will get rewarded from the judges.
Yeah, that's a great score, 68.2 to add to her 51, which was well, just a missing. It wasn't as sculpted as that dive there, and she has a total of 119.2 now with Luana Moreira of Brazil, back 2.5 in the pike position, DD of 3.
Very low finishing back 2.5, just not quite strong enough to complete those rotations. Now, she is a very slight girl, so being lighter, it makes it more difficult to get compression from the board, but just needed to be a little bit more patient, just getting the splash on her shoulders.
Competed at the Rio Olympics, of course, which was a wonderful experience for the diver from Brasilia, but not getting a great score. They're 45. She'll be playing catch-up in the next few rounds. Here we have the Swede, Nero, reverse 2.5 tuck, 2.8.
Very nicely done, reverse 2.5. Now, it is a relatively easy dive, so I just wonder what the point of doing the hop hurdle is if you're not going to go for the really big dives. The point of the hop hurdle is to make sure that you get enough height to complete the rotations, so may not have done her any favours, but it was a decent dive.
54 points as she was awarded for that. Yuka Mabuchi, it's an inward at 2.5 in the tuck position, 2.7.
What a nice entry, but she pretty much had to smell the water as she, just very low finishing, so just got that round. Good entry though.
There's always a bit of a panic, you know, when you're coming out of your dive, where you just, you know, where is it? And then all of a sudden, yes, you're actually breaking the surface. She did recover very well, 54 points for Mabuchi. Ashley McCall, good score for her first dive, 58.05, so the Canadian will be looking to back that up. She's got a DD of 2.8. This is a forward 3.5 in the tuck position, so I think this is the first 3.5 somersaults that we've actually had in a dive so far. No, we've had it once or twice maybe. Memory.
She finished it off okay. It's the first tuck one that we've seen. Saw the Ukrainian do a front 3.5 pike. Just a bit of trouble in her hurdle, but finished it off quite nicely. Didn't panic too much.
I'll correct myself. It was Nidobiga, the Ukrainian, who only did a 3.5, but she was the second. Now, Naomi Kim, it's a forward 3.5 tuck, 2.8.
She has piked out of that a little bit too early. Did land very back on the end of the board, so has affected where she thought she was in the dive. Had to throw out, couldn't quite get the rotations going, and just short of vertical. She's had a big program, hasn't she?
Absolutely, absolutely. Naomi Kim. Elena Chernik, it's the reverse 2.5 pike, so difficulty gets past the 3-point barrier.
nicely done, and the Russian cheer squad like it.
You can see the Olympic champion and the world champions there, of course, Kuznetsov and Zakharov, getting very much behind Elena, 64.5. And she'll move into first position. Michelle Bauer with the forward 2.5. Twist thrown in, and it's in the pike position. There's a difficulty of 3 here. Potentially a good opportunity to get some big points. The Americans looking very strong so far.
Just not able to stretch out at the end of that dive. Panicked a little in her hurdle, so wasn't patient with the springboard. Just unable to really complete those rotations. Just looking a little wobbly just from takeoff, so she was in trouble from the get-go. She did a good job to actually finish it off the way she did.
Yeah, kind of off balance, just on the not really on the sweet spot when she was just coming off the board. Here we have Ancha Chavez. It's the reverse 2.5 pike position. So this is the lowest DD, of course, in her repertoire. She'll go up to 3.1.
Powerful looking dive, nice and vertical. She really does impress me with her ability to go sky high, really finish these dives quite early. Now, she just doesn't quite really slice through that water like some of the other competitors, but will be rewarded for the height. So just needs to clean up that entry a little to get the big 8s.
But that's pretty good. I mean, you know, it's 63. I think that she uses confidence, doesn't she? You know, she must be so tired. I saw her just before the 20 minutes before the start of the final. Very much in a bubble, very focused and concentrated on what she was going to do in this final. Suji Kim, it's a forward 3.5 tuck position, 2.8.
Wow, really smooth board work. A nice tuck position. Had all the time in the world to just line up for a fantastic entry. It's really nice diving.
And that's another 63 to match Chavez. And she moves into the top position, just ahead of Chavez, with just 2 more divers to go. Brooke Schultz, she got a great score of 66. Now she has the chance to back that up. She got a forward 3.5. Pike position, 3.1.
Needs another strong hurdle. Very strong hurdle, very powerful dive. She just attacks that front 3.5. Generates power out of the board, great pike position, well done.
Yeah, it's going to be up there with the last 2 scores. 63.55 is great. Brooke Schultz, the 18-year-old, coached by her father in Kansas, 129.55. She is leading the way ahead of Suji Kim and Arantxa Chavez. Victoria Kazar, of course, will just complete this second round.
Another excellent dive for 2.5 somersaults with 1 twist. She was the leader in the semi-final. So it's in reverse order. Again, a great competition dive. Just really attacked it.
And that's pushed her up into second position after the second round. These are the rankings now, with 3 dives to go for each individual. Brooke Schultz, as I said, 129.55, just 2 points ahead of Victoria Kazar of Ukraine, Kim Suji in third, and well, Kim Nami at the bottom. That's we'll put that down to fatigue, I think, because she's already won medals here in this Universiade here in Taipei, but most definitely trying to play catch-up. Anastasia Nedobiga. It's a reverse 2.5. Pike position. Difficulty of 3.
Big over rotation. Just didn't find the right time to come out of that dive. Needed to come out a lot earlier. Her board work is a little stampy, so she's overcompensated by holding on. But again, just really impressed with her technique. If she had sliced that through the water, the judges would have given her 8. Just picked the wrong time.
Love your terminology, stampy. Just too stampy.
A bit stampy on the board. You've got to make friends with the springboard, Robbie.
Yeah, oh, no, there's no doubt about that. You know, springboard's not an enemy.
No, you don't want it to be your enemy, that's for sure. You've got to use it to the best of your ability. And this is a reverse 2.5 somersault in the pike position, so same dive. And again, just not able to generate enough power. It's good to see her doing these big dives, though. Just a little technical problem getting into the pike position. Needed to be a little more aggressive, get the rotation going.
I think she needs to get into the weights room a little bit more just to build up the muscle mass.
Look, it's a
tricky one, isn't it?
It's hard to say because I haven't seen her train a lot, and sometimes divers just get fatigue in competition, but potentially needs to work on the power.
Daniela Nero, it's of Sweden, forward 2.5 with a twist, pike, difficulty of 3.
Very nicely done. Full out, nice and vertical. So we're getting into the 3rd round, and it's dives like this that will keep you up in the leaderboard. It's just all about consistency at this point.
There's a small Swedish diving contingent here, of course, just to follow Daniela. And best score for her so far, 60 points. Now, Yuka Mabuchi, reverse 2.5. Tuck, 2.8.
Wow, she has such a simple list of dives. It's all in the tuck position, no more than 2.5 rotations, but she knows how to finish them off.
And the locals really like her as well. There's lots of fans who are from Taipei just getting behind this Japanese diver. 58.8, which is good to see. So again, we've got a big crowd here, which is wonderful. Ashley McCool, it's the back 2.5. So over the top she goes, tuck position, 2.8. 9th position coming into round 3.
Good kick. Now, I suspect also she'll be working on the back 2.5 in the pike position. Needs to upgrade her degree of difficulty, but for this back 2.5 tuck, she picked a good time. Just a little over rotation, wasn't quite able to stop with her core. Needed to look back a little more.
50.4 points for Ashley. Now, Kim Nami, back 2.5 tuck position, 2.8. And she needs to get herself off the foot of the list at the moment. She's coming in 12th position.
Much stronger looking dive. She missed her front 3.5 in the last round. Was very short of vertical. This was stronger, more confident looking. But after you miss a dive, you can feel quite shaken. So good one to come back with.
And the student from Daegu Hana University picks up 54.6. Lena Charnik, inward 2.5, pike, TD of 3. Let's see the Russian contingent erupt with delight once she finishes her repertoire.
Very nicely done. Inward 2.5. Now, she hasn't put a foot wrong all day. She's been really, really consistent. And I just feel like her confidence is building. She came into this round ranked 5th. And that's a very good 3rd round dive. Just put the pressure back on.
63 points. And for a tally of 183. Provisionally in the lead. Michelle Bauer back 2.5, pike. So no steps on the board this time. She's just going over the top, which might prove advantageous.
Much stronger looking dive. Now she has backed that away slightly from the board. Needed to be a little more patient and just getting the hands together, or not quite getting the hands together. So maybe a little splash going through the shoulders. Didn't quite get that rip entry.
48 points for the American. Chavez, it's an inward 2.5. Pike.
Beautiful inward 2.5. Now, I think this is the strongest inward 2.5 that we've seen so far in the competition. Just really had no problems with the takeoff, no problems with the entry. Just dropped it in.
And a fine score of 63 points for Chavez.
She's having a much better day than she had in the semi-final. Her scores were a little lackluster.
Yeah, she's top of the pile momentarily. So she came back 2.5 tuck, 2.8.
Very good kick. It's slightly lower degree of difficulty. She came into this round ranked 3rd. Big double bounce. It was a good dive for a back 2.5.
Even an 8 thrown into the mix there. 63. And we've seen many 63s in this final so far. And that just puts her back onto the top of the pile. Brooke Schultz, a reverse 2.5 Pike, 3 in the DD department.
Wow, that was make or break time for Brooke, and she has done a very nice reverse 2.5 in the Pike position. Very high, very confident, well done.
And we've got a 70 pointer, 72, fantastic. Look at the 8s there, there's even a 9 thrown into the mix. I mean, so strong.
Good
so strong,
pressure
good
diving.
height.
She knows what's at stake.
Now she's got a massive lead, now 16 points ahead of Kim Suji. But Victoria Kazar, the Ukrainian, back 2.5 Pike position. Second coming into this 3rd round.
Not too bad in her back 2.5. Just slight over rotation, leaning back a little from the board, and that can be quite difficult to adjust in the air. So of course, if you lean back, you're more likely to over rotate.
But 58.5 just keeps her on the podium for the time being. And there you can see it. Brooke Schultz, wonderful score there after 3 rounds. And if she can get past the 300-point mark with 2 good dives in the final 2 rounds, that would be amazing. And in second place, Victoria Kazar, of course, and Kim Suji, 185.4 in 3rd position. And Michelle Bauer just in the penultimate position. Moreira, the Brazilian, at the bottom. But Kim Nami just moving up to 10th. Round 4 of 5 dives. And we have Anastasia Nedobiga of Ukraine. Back 2.5 in the Pike position.
Lovely entry. And again, a great Pike position. She really does use that to her advantage. Not the most powerful diver that we've seen, but very technically sound. She's doing a very good job in this final.
63 for Ukrainian. There you go, that's the little jacuzzi where they just keep themselves warm in between dives. Luana Moreira, forward 3.5 tuck.
Well, that's unfortunate. Her knees buckled on the board, so she was never able to come back out. You see there. And we've talked about it all day. She's just struggling with power issues in her legs. That can often happen when a diver is perhaps dehydrated or fatigued. The first thing to go is their legs. I'd actually love to see her on platform, actually, to see.
Really?
Might have a chat to her coach.
There you go. There you go. Listen to Ludi Wiggins. Turning on narrow. It's a forward 3.5. Tuck 2.8.
Squeezing that front 3.5, and a very fine effort, actually. Just grabs the knees very, very high. I'd like to see it closer to her ankles. She can squeeze some more and just getting her hands together.
Is that because you generate more power when you're actually coming out into the actual horizontal position?
Absolutely. It just becomes easier to spot the water
Vertical.
if you
Yep.
grab a little lower. You can squeeze your tuck position more.
Yukimabuchi forward 1.5 for 2 twists and 2.5 DD.
Very pretty diving. Double twist. And as we mentioned before, she does have very low degree of difficulty, but just knows how to finish her dive off, and consistency is the name of the game.
And just look how where the legs are. The legs are just, they go from 2 legs into 1. It's just remarkable. Very classy dive that was. And 52.5. Lacking on the DD, as you mentioned. Ashley McCool, reverse 2.5, tuck position 2.8.
Lovely entry. Good reverse 2.5. You can hear the sound that a good entry makes, and that's done by the divers clasping their hands, making a flat palm, and just getting a good rip entry. It's very impressive.
63 for McCool. And that puts her top of the pile after the first 5 efforts of the 3rd round. Kiminami, reverse 2.5 tuck.
She's had a restart, so it'll be an automatic 2-point deduction from every judge.
Not having a great day today.
No, she's having some problems with her board work, and perhaps that is a fatigue issue. And she's balked again, which is unfortunate, which means it's an automatically failed dive. She does have the ability to appeal if there was something distracting her, but I suspect she won't do that, and it's just she's pretty much given up on the competition, which...
Yeah, so I mean, it comes down to fatigue, I think. You know, you have to be really focused. There might be something else, who knows. Yeah, flash photography can, we saw that at the World Championships, in fact, you can ask for appeal and have a redive. Elena Janik of Russia, forward 3.5 pike.
Front 3.5, she just wasn't quite as patient as she needed to be. She was going into this round ranked 5th. So needed a big dive there. Has landed very heavily on her shoulders. Just wasn't really as powerful as she needed to be off the springboard.
And 41.85, so that's quite disappointing for Janik, who's down to 3rd position. Now, Michelle Bauer, reverse 2.5 tuck, 2.8.
Just leaving that very short of vertical. Now her feet were over the end on the springboard, so she did a good job to be patient with the springboard, but has just launched a little too far out into the middle of the pool and was never able to make those rotations around.
And it's good to understand how important the the steps are on the board to get you into that perfect position so that everything starts off nicely. If it doesn't, then you're already scrambling, aren't you?
You are, and we talk about the springboard being your friend. It's not a joke. You need to really use it, and this lady knows how to use the springboard very well.
Gotta love the board so much.
Fantastic looking dive, front 3.5 somersault, perfect hurdle, no problem with her legs. Great pike position and just very vertical, nice, confident entry.
Look at that score. The fans are really enjoying that dive there from Chavez, 72.85. So she moves into the top position now with 3 more divers to complete round 4 to go. Kim Soo-ji, Brooke Schultz, of course, the leader going into this round, and Victoria Kazar. This is Kim Soo-ji, reverse 2.5 pike.
Great diving by Kim. This is where the battle for the medals happens, and these girls are diving very, very well. They're stepping up to the plate, just not showing the nerves, just a slight over-rotation if we're going to be a little critical, but it's a good pressure dive.
61.5 for Soo-ji Kim, so she moves into second place behind Chavez. Now, Brooke Schultz, she needs more than 55.8 to get herself back on top, back 2.5 in the pike position, so it's got a degree of difficulty of 3, and it's very much in her targets, this score.
Great diving. I've been so impressed with the way she's just stayed composed. She looks like she's doing a training run and she's just attacking each dive. This will definitely keep her in the lead. It was a very nice back 2.5, great entry.
64.5 for Schultz, and yes, as you said, Ludi, she is definitely in the driving seat with Chavez second ahead of Kim Soo-ji, Victoria Kazar to complete round 4. It's a reverse 2.5. We're in the pike position, and we've got a DD of 3.
Another good reverse 2.5, just slight over rotation, but definitely not a big miss at this stage of the competition. She's not giving away too many points.
Well, if she gets more than 60, she moves third, but I think it's not enough, 58.5. So 4th position for Kazar. It's interesting, it's anybody's final, this one. Brooke Schultz leading the way. The last couple of rounds now. 9 points ahead of Arantxa Chavez of Mexico, with Kim Soo-ji in 3rd position. And Elena Chernik just dropping down to 7th now. And Kim Nami back at the foot of the standings going into the final round. Here we go. This is it. This is the final round, and it's all about medals. It's the business end of this only final here in Taipei today for the women's 3-meter springboard. Anastasia Nedobiga, forward 2.5 with a twist in the pike, DD of 3.
Another lovely looking entry. Just such a pretty diver to watch.
Been very impressed by the Ukrainian team here in Taipei this week.
They have definitely had a full field of competitors, and they've got great technique, perhaps just lacking some power. She had a pretty good day.
63 points, and that takes her to a total of 288.7. It's the score to beat. Luana Moreira, and the reverse 1.5, 2.5 twists, 2.9, the degree of difficulty for this.
Much better with her hurdle. Just probably a little close to the springboard, but she does veer over to the side. The judges may not see that. It was a much stronger looking dive than her front 3.5 in the previous round, so a good way to finish the competition for her.
And that's her best score of the whole final, 55.1. Great way to finish for Moreira. Now Daniela Nero of Sweden, inward 2.5, tuck position 2.7.
Lovely finish. Just left the board a little early, backing it away. Just getting the hands together. Need to really grab for that rip entry. She doesn't quite do that. You don't want to be doing that on 10 metre though. You'll hurt your head.
It's not good. 52.65. And total 268.05. Well done, Daniela. Yuka Mabuchi of Japan. It's a back 2.5. Tuck position 2.8. She was ranked 8th coming into the final round.
Lovely diving. She has dived really, really well in this final. Just lacking that degree of difficulty. She's a very neat diver, a really lovely entry. Just needs to work on the power and the degree of difficulty, and then she'll definitely be challenging for the medals. She knows how to compete.
58.8, and she'll move second. Ashley McCool, it's a forward 2.5. We've got a twist in there as well in the pike position, DD of 3. To move top, she needs to bet to 62.7.
Strong dive to finish, and that's the way you want to finish a final. Leave a good taste in your mouth and keep you hungry for the next competition. It's a great learning experience, a final of the World University Games. Suspect one of her first big finals.
And a big hug from the coach, which makes sense. 63, that's a very admirable score. And she'll move top of the pile momentarily. Kim Nami, forward 2.5 with a twist in the pike position. Remember, she had a problem in her last dive.
Very, very nice way to finish, and that can be very unsettling when you do fail a dive. We don't see it often in competition, but it does happen. Much more confident looking dive, and she looked very relaxed in that.
She did. It was stark contrast with the previous effort.
That just goes to show what she's capable of.
63 points then. Elena Cherenik. And it's a forward 2.5 with a twist in the pike position. Looking to try and get herself top with a better score than 64.2.
Great way to finish the competition. She also missed her last dive and has been up there all day, only really missed that 4th round dive, which cost her a place on the podium. It's been a pretty good competition. It's a lovely way to finish.
63 points. Cherenik just on the foot of the podium, bronze medal position so far. We have 5 divers to go. Michelle Bauer, forward 3.5, tuck position. Americans getting behind her. She still smiles. And this is to finish off her repertoire, difficulty of 2.8. Get on the podium, better score of 68.3. Oh no, no, that's not right, is it? She can't make the podium.
Strong finish, just slight over rotation, but that is a very confident looking dive. Now she will also take away a lot from this final. They of course have their collegiate system, the United States, and compete week in, week out.
46.2.
It's all competition experience and knowing what went wrong. Was it in training? Was it the way you were focusing in between dives? You're not keeping your body warm enough.
Now the leader, Chavez, forward 2.5 with a twist in the pike position, a DD of 3. And she needs to get a big score here.
Excellent finish. Full out. She has been fantastic all day and has not looked like faltering.
And she is on the verge, it's not a done deal just yet, but on the verge of getting a 3rd gold medal of this Universiade. I mean, let's have a look. She's got a tally of 327.
So there's still Brooke to go, who was winning after the last round. She had a little lead, but definitely the Mexican has done her job.
Kim Suji, forward 2.5, the twist and the pike.
Lovely way to finish.
Now, she could logically move into the silver medal position. I don't think she's going to better 81 points. It's mathematically possible, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we're looking around 63, something like that. There you go, 63 points. So she will move into the silver medal position. 2 more divers to go. And Brooke Schultz, who's been running the show for the last 2 dives, 2 rounds, is trying to go for an inward 2.5 in the pike, the DD of 3, and she needs to better 61.8.
She's been fantastic all day. It's good, just a slight over-rotation. She did attack that dive and did everything that she could, just had a little bit too much power. Be interesting to see what happens here.
57 points,
that's
not enough. That is so disappointing. But she'll be happy. She's going to get a medal, there's no doubt about it, but she's missing out on gold. That's a silver medal for Brooke Schultz, logically.
Oh, well, you called it, Robbie.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Victoria Kazar. She can get the bronze if she can better 65.4. It's a forward 3.5 in the pike position.
Big dive.
Yeah, it is.
It's not too bad. It's vertical. She didn't have a big drop on the end of that dive, and it was a little messy looking in the air with her feet. So
it's not going to be. It's going to be lower than 63, isn't it? It's 62. There you go. 3.65 was the mark. So Victoria Kazar misses out. She finishes 4th. But let's just have a look. The winner today for her 3rd gold medal. She has dominated the 3-meter diving competition in the mix, the synchro, and now in the individual. Arantxa Chavez of Mexico. What a great, great Universiade she has had. I doubt we'll see her in the mixed team event on Sunday, the one of 2 final events. But look at what she's accomplished here. 327.85 ahead of the American Brooke Schultz. That's fantastic for her. That's her first, I'd call it a major medal, because this Universiade is starting to become something very, very important as a trampoline to the Worlds and the Europeans just below that, and of course the Olympics. Brooke Schultz, 18 years of age, coached by her father at the University of Arkansas, and well, that is remarkable. 2014 Junior World Championship winner. She had a fantastic
wonderful competition. I'm probably a little bit disappointed for Brooke. I thought she had it in the bag. She needed 8s to nail that inward 2.5. It was an easier one in her repertoire, but she will learn from this. As you mentioned, she's only 18 years old, so a lot to take out, and she had some very confident-looking dives. Her list is ready to go for all the international competitions that are out there, so what a fantastic effort.
And what about Kim Soo-ji? Okay, well, of course, we saw that Naomi Kim missed out. She was just not present. I think that, you know, she had that no dive in round 4, of course, and well, she wasn't really present from the very start. She was, that young Mexican lady there. I can tell you, she was on fire today. But Kim Soo-ji, silver in the 3-meter synchronized with Naomi Kim, the 19-year-old from the University of Ulsan, taking another medal, of course, the silver medal, just to complete the podium here today for this women's 3-meter springboard final. And hopefully we'll get some replays of the 3 medalists, Kim, Brooke Schultz and Arantxa Chavez. Okay, and these are the 3 who have managed to get themselves on the podium today. So what a wonderful, wonderful competition, and the scores were a lot higher, of course. Look, 327.
Definitely.
Look what the semis were, Ludi.
Yeah, the semi-finals, all the girls looked tired to me, but they really stepped it up a notch for the final. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping through for the final, and here we have the bronze medal winner, reverse 2.5. She was very, very consistent all day. Now, perhaps her degree of difficulty is slightly lower in some of her dives, but just really smooth-looking diving and very, very good competing from the South Koreans as a whole in this event. And here's Brooke doing her reverse 2.5. She had a fantastic competition. She was leading going into the last round.
and just couldn't nail a final dive, which is a shame, but still she'll be happy with the silver medal as the family in town, of course, with her father Dale, and who's the coach.
And just the Mexican.
Oh, I mean,
so strong.
Yeah, but she was winning. She won her first gold medal on day 2. Can you imagine? That's like 7 days of competition, an intense competition.
It's a long diving program, and that takes a lot of hours in training to be able to back up day after day after day in competition. It's just quite mentally draining, but she had it all together there today, and very, very deserved winner.